also known as the cowboy's wife. I'm no expert on anything and I don't claim to be, but I have been alive for 56 years, so I have some funny stories. Come saddle up with me and take a ride, and maybe I can make you laugh or smile or cry or give you something to just think about that day. Let's do this. Hey, good morning, everyone. Trish Charleston here, also known as the Cowboy's Wife. And today I've got with me Ashleigh Gibson. And Ashleigh, I've known her whole life, and because I'm old and she's not. and she and Emma went to school together. Were you guys the same age?
Yes.
And they did nursing. They were both in the nursing program together. What's it called? CNA.
Yeah.
And Emma was all, gung ho. She was going to be a nurse. And then all of a sudden she's like, yeah, I can't. But well, I won't say why, but she had a really funny reason. And it was bad because she was really good at it. I would get like thank you letters from people, how compassionate she was. But she always talked about how how you were phenomenal at it. And then you went on to actually open your own lab, which is super cool.
Yes.
So now you have the name of the lab is what?
It's Lab Health.
Lab Health in Carthage, Missouri. And so if you ever need your blood drawn, come see Ashleigh because you won't even know she stuck you, which is lovely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the reason we're talking today, and we're also kind of strangely related, not related. So her grandpa married my stepmom, that just makes no sense at all. My dad passed away. And so my stepmom is married to her grandpa. And so now we're all just one big happy family. So it works out really good. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about Ashleigh's struggle with getting pregnant. And so it was a long drawn out process, and this is not something that I know anything about because I've had another person on about some of these same things, and they struggled and struggled. My friend Jeremy, she went through the same kind of a thing, except she went through some horrible depression with hers, and she wanted to reach out to women and let them know that, you're not alone in that, and that how you needed to get help, because it's hard, it's super hard. But like I told her, I never had any issues with getting pregnant. So this was very new to me. I didn't, it wasn't something that I understood. So you go ahead and tell exactly what happened for you guys.
So my mom always struggled with endometriosis. My grandma had it, and then of course it got passed on to me. My mom actually had to have an emergency hysterectomy after she had me, so I'm a miracle in itself. So I knew I was probably going to have issues from struggling with the endometriosis. I just didn't know how bad I had it. So in 2018, I had a surgery called a laparoscopy. So they go in and they see what your endometriosis looks like. That's when they actually diagnose you, and they split it into 4 classes. So when I got done, he said, "You have stage 4."
Okay, wait a minute. How early did you know in your life that you had this?
Let's see, my cycle started at 14, and it was never, I was throwing up the first 3 days. They lasted 7 to 9 days.
Oh my
I just
gosh.
pretty much dealt with it until I graduated, and then I was like, I've got to do something. We've got to do the surgery because all these doctors want to do when you have stuff like this is just put you on birth control, and that's how they're going to regulate you and your endometriosis.
That's what they did to me. I didn't have endometriosis. I had just terrible sickness like that, like wipe you out sickness. And then as soon as they put you on the pill, it just,
Yeah.
So when they did they put you on the pill or no?
Yes. Yeah. I was on the pill for, gosh, 7 or 8 years.
Did it work? I mean, did you?
Not really.
Really?
I didn't. No, I still would be able to tell when I was going to start, and then it would be still the 9 days long, even though it wasn't supposed to, and the getting sick and all of that. So when he diagnosed me with the stage 4, he said that he cauterized everything and took out what he could, but there was still a lot on my bladder, my bowels, my my colon, everything
How
was
old were
everywhere.
you then?
Um, 19, 20.
Oh
I
gosh.
think, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of a hard pill to swallow, and then knowing that,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be hard to start a family when we're ready. Um, but when I met Cade, so I guess I can backtrack here. So, um, I met Cade through Instagram. Funny story. So my mom was following, I think it's Bigger Hats, and they had sponsored Cade with all of his bullfighting stuff. And Papa West and Sandy, they always went there to get his hats custom made. So that's why my mom was following them. Well, they posted a picture of him one day and he had bought his dad a hat. And my mom's like, "See, you need a guy like that. That's really nice of him. It looks like he's buying his dad a hat." And she like went through and stalked his Instagram. I'm like, "Man, he has thousands of followers. He'll never notice a girl from Carthage, Missouri. That'll never happen." And so I waited and like 2 weeks rolls around. She's like, "It's still just every time I click on Instagram, that picture is right there." So I followed him, he followed me back, and we ended up just talking, and then he said he was gonna be in Vegas to fight bulls, and so I was like, "Oh, that'll never happen. I'm not gonna go there." A month later, Sydney ended up having to have brain surgery in Texas. So we talked about meeting up there. So we're at the hospital for Sydney's stuff, and he's like, "I'll just come there." So he drove 45 minutes to Dallas and met me and the whole family at the same time. And then we're
Oh, wow.
inseparable ever since.
Wow.
Yeah,
I did
no,
not
it's
re I did know that he had come to the hospital, but I didn't realize that was the first time you guys met.
yes.
And that took some real for people that don't know, Sydney's your cousin, and she's
Yes, yeah.
got dystonia, which is a horrible, horrible disease, and she's had just horrible, I mean, just surgery after surgery, and she's an incredible artist, an incredible inspiration, and
Mhm.
such a fighter, but oh my gosh, that he came for that.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, that's a lot. That
It
makes
was.
buying his dad a hat pretty pathetic.
I know, exactly.
I mean, and that was
Exactly.
sweet. I mean, I'm not saying it's not sweet to
Yeah,
buy your dad a
yeah.
hat, but wow,
Yeah,
let's
for
just go
sure.
meet a girl while her cousin's having brain surgery.
Yeah, absolutely.
Woo, okay, yeah, that'd
Yes.
be hard to say no to. Well, and then
Mhm.
when later you did come to watch him in Vegas because we actually ran into you there,
Yes,
which was
yeah.
I'm like, "There's Ashley." Kevin's like,
Uh-huh.
"What? What?"
Yeah.
I mean, we know a ton of people when we're there, but just not normally people from home, you know?
Carthage, yeah.
Yeah, so that was pretty fun. So
Yes, yeah.
anyway, so you guys got married pretty quick. I mean, how
Yes,
long did
yeah.
you date?
3 years.
Oh, not pretty quick. You dated a hot
Well,
minute.
we
Okay.
were dated for 2 years, and then we got engaged, and it was like a
Okay.
year-long engagement,
Oh,
so we
that's
now it's
lovely.
been almost married for almost 4 years now. This year's 4
Okay.
years, so yeah, so and then coming into all of that with having to tell him that it might be a struggle for me to be able to have kids and it may not happen at all. Um, he had no idea what IVF even was when that word got thrown at me. So we had struggled, and I only waited a couple months to go to the IVF clinic because I knew we would probably have to do that anyways.
What does that stand for?
In vitro fertilization.
Okay, IVF. IVF.
Yes.
I was hearing B.
Yeah,
IVF. Okay.
IVF. So I got a referral to Kansas City and we went there, I think it was April of 22. And then my they do an egg retrieval first. So you have to be on all sorts of shots. So I was giving myself 4 shots a day plus oral medication. And I had to do that for close to 2 weeks because they want your body to keep your ovaries silent, but have your eggs growing at the same time so that they can go in and remove them all. You want as many eggs as possible to give yourself a higher chance.
Do they
So,
actually take them out of your body?
yes, and it
So
was a horrible experience.
oh, see, we do this with horses, and I'm not trying to compare the 2 because I can't even but we just did this with Paisley, Emma's good mare, and they call it ICSI.
Yes, that's what they
They
did.
pull they ICSI'd you.
Yes, they exceed me. Yes, that's what it
Oh
is.
my god.
Uh-huh.
So that I don't know about the needle that goes in you, but
I YouTubed it before I went.
it's so large
Honestly.
that went into Paisley. and they pulled out 22
Mhm.
eggs, and I think I have not heard how many viable. So this is the same thing.
Same thing.
Oh, wow.
Yep, it is.
Well, I
Same
saw
thing.
how she walked afterwards, so I'm gonna hug you when I see you.
Yeah, it wasn't
Oh,
fun.
whoa.
You can get what they call OHSS, and that's just the hyperstimulation of your ovaries if they take too much or they stimulate you too much. And they got 19 eggs out, and then
Wow.
I still developed the overstimulation. So I was in the hospital. I think I went twice. I couldn't get my heart rate below 140, and I was just super weak, couldn't really walk, stand up, all of that was really hard. So that was a long recovery process, and that was in August. And then I had my first so they did all the ICSI method, and then they update you as, like, the 5-day blasts, and they'll update you how many are growing and all that. Well, I only had 3, and then that's when they diagnosed me with the, diminished ovarian reserve, so my egg quality was just super poor from the endometriosis. And then I did my first embryo transfer in October, and it was with the best graded embryo that I had. And then, I feel like this generation is so bad at wanting the instant gratification that you just expect everything to work. I mean, why wouldn't it when you're young and you think that, oh, this embryo is healthy and it's going to work, it's going to happen? Well, I went in the 2 weeks after for my blood draw, and I actually had taken a pregnancy test and it was positive. So I was like, I went into it super happy. Well, I went in to the lab that night to get my results back, and there was nothing. It was less than 3. So that's when we knew that that didn't work, and we were devastated because it was $40,000 that we ended up
Oh,
spending for IVF.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. So, knowing that we were going to have to pay again, not the full whatever it was, close to 40,000 to do it, but then we only had to pay for the embryo transfer, but then not knowing these are my last 2, do we keep paying for all of this and not know if it's going to work? So then we took a month, I think it was, off, and then I started shots to suppress the endometriosis. Why they didn't put me on that in the first place, I'm not sure. But I did that for the month that I took off, and then in December, I think it was December 5th, we went in for the second embryo transfer. And I had talked with the doctor about, hey, this is your last 2 chances. And I didn't do what they call, I'm trying to think of what it is, the actual where they send your embryos off and test them to make sure that they're normal. I just did the grading, so just by the looks of it. So they were like, "These 2 are your last ones. They're not the best graded, so they're both probably not gonna work, but at least one, you may get a healthy baby out of this." So we made the decision to transfer both embryos. So we go in December 5th, sign all the paperwork, did the transfer, and then December 9th, I'm like, I am eating everything in sight. There is something I can't stop eating and I just don't feel right. So I came home and took a test, which they tell you not to do. They tell you to wait the 2 weeks for your blood work. It came back super positive. And so by the time my blood work rolled around, the HCG was really high. And Cade's like, yep, it's going to be triplets. I just know it's going to be triplets. Then we went for our ultrasound. I think it was December 27th. And to our surprise, we had twins. And now they're going to be 2 in August. It's the best miracle and so, so worth it. If I could go back and tell myself after the egg retrieval, I really didn't
Well,
think it was going
yeah,
to be
and I mean,
twins.
all the shots and everything, because you would leave family functions because you'd had to go
Yes.
do shots, and
Yes.
I
They
mean,
have to be
it
so timely. It's
yeah, that
just,
was the thing, it had to be at specific times and all the
hmm
and we can't fail to mention that you come from a very prayerful family. I mean, your mom is a prayer
yes.
warrior, and so is your
Yes.
grandmother,
Yes.
and, so you were surrounded by people praying for you constantly. It wasn't
hmm
like you were just doing all this on your own. You had a huge
Right.
support system behind you to
hmm
do this. You said you had a lot of God moments in it.
Yes.
Can you
Yes.
tell me some of those?
So I think for our first transfer, I got so tired of people telling me, God's timing. It's on God's timing. And I got so tired of hearing it. But then when I look back and see that that one didn't work, I'm like, wow, it really was because Cade didn't have his new job where he was making more. I wasn't in a position at the lab to hire somebody, so that was by the grace of God that it didn't work, and now I see that. But the second time, before the Sunday night or the Sunday before our transfer, which was on Monday, we drove to Kansas City Sunday night. And our sermon at church was about hope. So after the sermon, they all called me up there and they prayed over me and Cade. We felt so good going to Kansas City. Well, we get there and he turns the football game on, of course. And all of a sudden they show one of the players in his cleats. It said IVF warrior, and then it had the word hope on the other side of the
Oh
cleats.
gosh, that gives me the chills.
Yeah. And so we both just kind of looked at each other like, wow, well, we did the transfer. No, I'm sorry. A lady from church also before we left gave me a necklace and I hadn't opened it at all. She had actually gone through IVF. So we get there and I'm unpacking our bags and I realized I still had that and I hadn't opened it. And I open it and it's a key and it had the word hope engraved in the key on the necklace.
Oh,
Yeah. So we both were like, okay, this is it. This is God and this is our time. And then we got back and my mom was giving me all the Christmas cards that she had got at her house, and then all of mine, we were just looking at them. And the one from the neighbor she had opened just had hope on it. It didn't have anything else on the outside. It just had hope and it was in purple. So all of those and all of that to say, we named Letty Hope, and that's where she gets her middle name is from
oh, that's
all of those
great.
signs that it's like little God winks of hang in there. I'm showing you this is your time and everyone's praying for you. So it was awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that is awesome. So your mom had trouble, you have trouble, and now your cousin's having trouble. And so
Yes.
she
Yes.
is, but that's on your dad's side. So
Angie
that,
actually did IVF to get Hayden.
yeah. And so
So
that's weird. So you kind of had a double whammy there
yeah.
from mom
Yes.
and dad's side.
Yes.
Now, did your grandma didn't have trouble, did she?
No, she didn't. Angie has it's a blood clotting disorder called factor 5, and Papa West actually has it, and they're thinking that that's what his mom died from. It's
Oh,
just the blood clotting thing. So Hayden actually has that.
oh, I
And
didn't know that.
yeah, Angie had to be put on some blood thinning shots during IVF to get Hayden here. So if
Oh,
they're thinking maybe that's what Hayden's going to have to do, but at this point, no one's really
but
said much about it to her.
we need to keep encouraging her and praying for her. So
Absolutely.
everybody that's listening to this today, put her on your prayer list
Absolutely.
because she's poured her heart out on social media and been
Yeah.
very honest and
She
open about what the
yeah.
troubles and struggles that she's going through. And I just love that kid. That breaks my heart for her.
Yeah. She actually did the same surgery that I had, and they diagnosed her with stage 3 endometriosis. And then the next month after her surgery, she got pregnant naturally. And then after that, she lost it was a baby boy, and she lost him at 8 weeks and had to have a D&C for that.
Oh my
And
gosh.
he ended up having something chromosomally wrong with him. And so then, of course, that's scary. So she went into IVF so that they could test these embryos to make sure that they didn't have what he had. And she had 4 embryos. She did her first transfer, gosh, it's been a couple months ago now, January, and it stuck, and it was a boy again. She was a little over 6 weeks and then lost him again.
Oh
So they're
my
doing
goodness.
testing to see if it was anything that they just didn't catch when they tested the embryos, or it's so hard because there's no answer. And what works for one person with IVF isn't going to work for the other. Like, we were on totally different protocols, but it still worked for her. So it's just the matter of her staying pregnant. But it's been so nice having the lab because I've been able to connect with people like that. And I can go in there on a weekend and draw her blood for peace of mind, or we can
Well,
just do it and send it
not
off. And
only that, but the fact that she has you
yes, yeah.
not just as a healthcare help provider
Hmm.
in person, but her own blood relative and someone who has gone through the same
Yeah.
horrible thing. And I think that's so important when God gives us these horrible struggles. I mean, I don't believe God gives us these struggles, but I
Yeah.
believe that the Bible says that we grow stronger. We're able to persevere because we're going to have all of these struggles on this
Mhm.
earth, and when we do, there's a reason, that you go through these things so we can help others when they get in this situation. I
Mhm.
was told I did this Bible study or something one day, and it said to reach out to someone that you're closest to and ask them your fault. I would not suggest doing this because unless you really want to know.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I stupidly asked my mom and my sister, and I was like, okay, I mean, be honest.
Yeah.
Like, whoa. That's all I have to say about that. And so I said, apparently, according to my sister, I'm unempathetic. And for the record, I don't know if I've talked about this before. Unempathetic is not a word. Um, but I think everyone is when you don't know what it's like to go through something.
Yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
not like you're intentionally unempathetic. You have
Yeah.
no idea
Yeah.
what it's like. And so it's hard
Exactly.
to be it's hard to be real with them or hard to be experiencing that very hurt,
Mhm.
the same hurt the way that they are because you have no idea. I
Yeah.
watched the episode of The Chosen last night on season 4 where, oh gosh, Rama, have you watched The
We
Chosen?
started it, but
Oh,
I
you
haven't
got to
gotten to
watch.
it to yet.
Anyway, Thomas's fiance dies and he is wrecked, of course, obviously, because Jesus has been healing people everywhere and he doesn't heal her.
Mhm.
Well, prior to that, Simon, who became Peter, his wife lost a baby, which none of that is in the Bible, but it's great on this show. But it
Mhm.
also goes back to showing this point of what I'm getting at here and what Jesus was getting at. But because he didn't heal Eden either, she lost a baby.
Mhm.
And while Simon was out working with Jesus, with God himself, he's one
Mhm.
of the chosen apostles, he just lets their baby die. So as you can imagine, he's mad, he's
Yeah,
real mad. And
for sure.
why wouldn't you be? I mean, you'd be
Mhm.
devastated because he chose all these other people to heal,
Mhm.
but not him. So here they are again, and Thomas loses his wife, and Jesus doesn't heal her. So at the end, it shows he said, you are the only person that can talk to him right now because you are the only one that's actually been through the very same thing because I
Mhm.
did not heal your baby,
Yeah.
and so it's like, oh, and so that's a different understanding, isn't it, when you think
Yeah,
about it
for
like that,
sure.
because you don't have the experience, you don't have the words. And in that same episode, same sentence, same breath, I'm literally watching all my artificially inseminated babies running around out here right now. So I know this stuff works. They're just the cutest
Yes.
things. But also saying nothing, you know, it's better than saying things like you said, it would just break your heart when people would say, God's timing, God's perfect timing. You just want to say, shut up.
Yes, exactly.
Shut your mouth. And
Yes.
sometimes that is what you're supposed to do. Just be
Mhm.
there for someone,
Yes,
just
absolutely.
hug them, say nothing. I am a talker. I'm not great at shutting up. And I will say some real stupid things to people. When Quincy lost a baby. She had a miscarriage or very early before she was pregnant with Charleston. And again, I had never experienced anything like that. And I think I said something stupid like, um, and as a rancher, we just think differently,
Mhm.
because you do think just like with Hayden's baby, if something was wrong,
Yeah, you'd
it's a
rather it be
you feel
then
like it's
than
a
later.
blessing
Yeah,
because that child
absolutely.
is now with Jesus.
Mhm.
Well, you don't feel like that when you're the mom,
Yeah, exactly.
and so it's like, just shut up, Trish.
Yeah.
Don't talk. And so
Yes.
I try to tell her, I'm like, that's just nature's way of sloughing things off. It's like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, that's not something you can just say to people,
Yeah.
and so it's hard because farm people think differently, and we
Mhm.
see nature every single day
Yeah.
happening. But I cannot believe that you were ixied. I'm just that is fascinating. I mean,
Yes.
because the people that are in the horse world and know and the cost. I mean, I get what I
Yes.
mean, and we're talking about a human life here. We're not talking about a bunch of baby
Mhm.
colts. But oh, honey, that is
Yeah.
yeah. I had a friend that went through that for a long time, and I know it was terribly, terribly painful, and it never worked for her, and it was heartbreaking. But it was.
Mhm.
But we're gonna keep praying for Hayden and hopefully and your little blessings. Tell us their names again. Letty and
Letty Cohen.
Cohen and Letty, and they
Boy
are
and girl, and we're done.
wild. Oh, yes. Well, maybe. It's
Yeah.
not really up to
Sometimes.
you.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Sometimes God has a sense of humor.
A lot of times he has his
You just thought you were
really
infertile.
that's right. He has a big sense of humor.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
thank you for joining me today. I think that
Absolutely, thank
that
you.
well, you're welcome. I think that that was really informative for people and if they want to see you at your lab, give them the address. So we'll just plug the lab
It's
here
706 West Fairview in Carthage.
in Carthage, Missouri. And seriously, though, if you do have to have lab work, you can do anything there, right?
Yeah, if you don't have insurance, we offer the cheapest self-pay option that you can probably find around here, and then we have your results back the next day also, so we take all insurances.
Oh, very nice. That's good
Yeah,
to know.
yep.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
And
absolutely, thank you.